two preachers were standing on the side of a mountain road, each of them holding a sign. One said, "Turn around before it's too late." The other one had a sign that said, "The end is near." And they heard a car coming, and it was coming pretty fast, speeding, and it came around the corner, and they held up their signs for the passengers to see, and passengers just ignored them, went on around the curve at a high rate of speed, and the next thing you hear is the sound of screeching tires and twisted metal and broken glass, and finally that last crunch of the metal. And the one preacher turns to the other and says, "Do you think perhaps we should change our sign to say the bridge is out?" You know, recognizing that we need to make some changes is the first step. We talked about this a little bit last week. We talked about judging us, but we talked about what? First looking at the plank in our own eye, right? And looking to see what those changes are that we needed to make first. But change is never easy. I hope some of you, all of you actually, I hope did some reflection this week to see what it is that God needed to change in you. We all need change. We're all in the need of change. When we think about change, it's normally an outward change, right? Of what's going on outwardly when we think about change. But you know, this tells us something different. It tells us transforming of our minds, which is completely different. I remember being young when I was in high school. I told you I moved to Indiana from North Carolina, and I'd always played football, and I wanted to play basketball because that was the only real sport up there they offered. And come to find out that they started this conditioning program August 15th, before school even started. And it went for 2 months, and if you wanted to try out in October, you had to go through these 2 months of conditioning. Well, I'd done football conditioning, and I'd run track for years. I said, well, how bad could this be? And I showed up with over 100 some people first day, and school only had 400 people, so it's a quarter of the population. That's how big basketball is up there. It's a religion up there. It truly is. They love their basketball. And everybody wants to play on a basketball team. That's why we'll go through this. So I show up, and we go through this training, and I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, this is unreal. I mean, warm-up was run 2.5 miles. That was a warm-up. I'm like, this ain't right. What's going on here? And anyway, each day it got tougher and tougher, but each day the number of people who showed up got smaller and smaller and smaller. I mean, this was tough stuff. People would run until they got sick, and then they'd get up and they'd run some more. I mean, it was tough stuff. It really was. I mean, even by a young person's standard who was in pretty good shape, it was tough physical training. And we went through it. But what I found is that when it came to be October 12th and the day for tryout, only the people who had a real desire to play ball were still there. Only the people who were disciplined to show up every day, only the people who had that inner strength to do this were the only ones left to try out for the team. And that number that was just well over 100, they shrank down to about 30 by the time it was time to try out for basketball team. A lot of people weren't willing to make that commitment, to make that change, that physical change, to get into shape to be able to play basketball. When we think about change, like I said, we usually think about outward stuff, right? Some of us want to be taller, some shorter. If it would help my back, I'd be shorter. I don't know. It's not that big a deal. Skinnier, some of us want hair. Some of us want the good look. But we all have things we want to change, right? If I could give you a magical wand and say you can change anything about you wanted to change, what would you look like the next day? Would we even recognize you? I mean, some of you might be a small, like little change. Some of you might be extreme makeover. I don't know. It's whatever you desire for yourself. But, I think it's fair to say that all of us have things that we want to change. Anybody here not have something they want to change about themselves? I'm pretty close to perfect. I mean, besides me, the rest of y'all. Yeah. I think we all have stuff we like to change, right? We all have stuff, on the outside, well, yeah, I can lose a little weight. Okay, a lot of weight. I can lose a lot of weight. We all have things on the outside we'd like to change, right? And it's proven every day. We go and we see advertisements thrown at us every day that tells us, right, that we want to change, right? And your email and your TV, what does it say? Just try this. You can lose 100 pounds in just 6 weeks. Just try this. You'll look thinner in moments. All these things that tell us that we can be better people, we buy into that all the time. And some of us go and we look at, you've been to a bookstore, they have a whole section of self-help books in case you want to change. Did you know that? They'll be able to change everything about you. They can tell you how to be a better speaker. They can tell you how to have manners. They can tell you all kinds of stuff that you need to know, but you don't know. How to be a better person. Which fork is what on the dinner table in case you don't know. All those things there. Self-improvement books. How to have more confidence. Right? But every day we do that, we get up and we look in the mirror, and what do we see? Same old people. I look today and I look the same as I did yesterday. Pretty much. But we all do that, right? We want to be better. We want to be different in some ways. And after a while we get to an age we don't care. We're just like, whatever. I'll wear black. It's clean. You can't see the bulges in black as much as you can. It's okay, right? Or we get to a point we just don't care. We just say, who cares? I'm just going to be me, right? So we just give up on change. But that's outward change. And outward change is hard. But as hard as outward change is, inward change is 3 times as hard. It's hard work. Anybody here tried to change lately?
Every day.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I should just run out of here like, if I could run out of here like children's moment, it'd be just fine running out. But no, we want to talk about change. The scripture tells us today that we need to be what? What's the word they use? Transformed. Right? That we need to be transformed. That our minds need to be transformed. We're not supposed to be concerned with the things in this world. That would be the outward stuff. Right? But we should be transformed in a renewing of your mind. Transformed, that's interesting, isn't it? That's an interesting word. I like it. Transform. Transformers. Christians in disguise. That could be the commercial for that. Right? We all need to be transformed in some way. Need to be changed. We all have things that we need to work on. And we actually last week to try to identify some of those, what those were. Right? What could they be? Maybe you're holding on to a spirit of pride. Maybe it's a spirit of a critical tongue. Maybe you're a little bit harsh on your fellow man. Maybe we gossip a little bit too much, or that we gossip at all is not good. Right? I know I'm stepping on toes. I'm sorry. Maybe we're not forgiving like we need to be. Maybe we're holding on to some resentment that's been there for years and years and we just never got rid of it.
I resemble that remark.
Me too. But what I'm saying is you're not alone, though. You're not alone. We all have those things inside us. Different ones. Maybe it's just, I can't say no to nobody. Whatever they just ask me things. They're all things we have to work on. Right? We all have those things. And the Bible is telling us that we need to be transformed. Now, transformed to me, it's kind of like, you remember back in 7th grade. That's a long time ago. 7th grade. You remember back a long time they used to have biology. I don't know if they still have biology in class. I'm assuming they do. All right. So You know, it's pretty bad when you get to age, you gotta ask that. You say, no, they still have these classes? But biology and caterpillars, you remember caterpillars and how they metamorphosize into butterflies? And tadpoles metamorphosize into frogs, right? We're supposed to that word, metamorphosize. Be transformed. Metamorphosize is just another word to transform. The caterpillar is transformed into a butterfly. Now, when you look at that caterpillar, if I had you lay him out on the table and I said, that's going to fly. You didn't know anything about caterpillars, what would you say? All right, what's the joke, right? What's the punchline? There's got to be something going on. That ain't going to fly. We're going to staple some wings to it, or what's going on, man? Because that don't look like anything that's going to fly, right? And in that state, it can't fly. But once it's transformed, then it can become what God intended it for it to be, which is a butterfly. God intended for that caterpillar to fly, but it had to go through change first. What has God got planned for you? Can you fly? What has He got planned for your life that just needs you to change a little bit? Have you thought about it? Have you thought about how great you could be? Not how great you are or how good you are, but how great you could be. The wonderful things you can do if you just let God take over. If you just let God transform you to what He has planned for you, each and every one of you, and me, included, right? That's what it means. Be transformed. Let your mind be transformed. You know, another Greek word that's close to transform is transfiguration. You know, Christ was transfigured, right, in front of the apostles, and for a moment, the light was so bright. You remember that story, right? Did he stop being Jesus? No, he was still Jesus. But the godliness in him was revealed. Right? God's not asking you to stop being you. He's just letting the God, I want you to let the godliness that He's placed in you start to shine through. To be transformed. To be changed. So it doesn't change hurt? Yes. Isn't it hard? Yes. Is that why we fight it so much? Yes. Nobody likes change. Anybody here like change? I don't. I like my comfy t-shirt I sleep in every night. I like that. It probably needs to be changed. It ain't happening. Anyway. But we all, you know, you have your comfy chair, you know, your spot. What happens if somebody sits in your spot you're at? We even have to ask. Nobody likes change, right? But we're talking about different kind of change. We're talking about allowing your mind and your heart to be changed. That starts with your baptism. When you start to change, we all start to change. But you know, we get to a certain point, we have to start looking. We have to recognize that there's still more work to do. We get happy with ourselves. We get real happy with ourselves. And like, you know, I've come so far. But you know, you still have work to do. None of us, we're all works in progress. Every one of us. It's like we're under construction all the time. I find myself all the time, I have things I need to work on. Sometimes I'm not patient like I need to be patient. I have to work on that and work on that. And I say, God forgive me, God forgive me. God. You know, I recognize it. And recognizing it is part of the, is a good thing. Because when you recognize it, then you can work on it. You know? And we all have those things. You know, there was in 1464, there was a sculptor who was commissioned to create out of this huge piece of marble a statue of an Old Testament prophet. And he worked on it for 2 years, and he noticed there were some imperfections in the marble. And he just said, I can't do it, and quit. And the piece of marble sat there for about 8-10 years. And then another sculptor came along. And he said, I'll do it. And he worked on that thing for about 4 years. And he couldn't get past the imperfection. And he decided, I'm done. And he left. It took about another 20 years till another sculptor came along who was willing to take on the project. Michelangelo was his name. And he worked on that piece of marble. And he chiseled away. And he chiseled away. And the imperfection was still there. You know what he did? He decided he was going to take that imperfection, he was going to make it a tree stump in which the prophet leg would rest. And he chiseled away, and chiseled away, and chiseled away. And 4 years later, he was finished. And he has created one of these in the art world, which is a great masterpiece, which is known as the David. Maybe you've heard of it. It's 15 feet tall. People come from all over the world to see it. And people asked him, how did you do it? How were you able to get by all those imperfections? How were you able to do this where other people couldn't? And I'll paraphrase for you here. He basically said, I just chiseled away everything that wasn't David. You know, when God goes to work on you, he needs to chisel away everything that doesn't reflect his son, Jesus Christ. We're Christians. We're supposed to be reflective of the one we follow, Christ. Our words, our actions, everything we do, because it's seen by the outside world, should reflect that. And so God has to chisel away everything that doesn't do that. And if that's resentment, you need to chisel it away. And if that's gossip, if that's judgment, unforgiveness, whatever it is, you know, I just picture him chiseling away on me every day. And he works on me and works on me, and he tells me, you know, these are the things you need to change. And when I do something wrong, I feel, you know, he's like, we need to do some more chiseling there. and he works on me. And some days, you know, I think he works on me, and he comes in the next day and he goes, what happened here? I thought I had fixed this. You know, who's been messing with my statue? And who's been messing with my masterpiece? And you know who it was? It was me. I messed up my own self. I'm my own worst enemy. You know, I think I know better than God. And I don't. God's the sculptor. I need to trust his design. He's the one bringing me to where I need to be. Not where I'm at, where I need to be. To where one day, he won't have to chisel anymore. But I think I'll be a work in progress till the day I leave. I really do. I don't know that we ever get to be perfect, but we should strive to be as Christ-like as we can be. What does that look like? How do we get there? How do we get from where we are to where we want to be? You got to have a plan. You wouldn't go on a diet without a plan, would you? Right? Well, I'm just not eating anything. That'll work. Well, until you starve to death, or until you pass out because your blood sugar's wrong, or whatever, right? So that's not the plan. That's not the plan. Well, what are we going to do? Well, here's some things you can do. Here's some things you can do. You need to first identify what it is you need to work on. You need to include that in your prayers. God, what do I need to work on? Maybe you don't know. It's not your fault. You don't know. Maybe you're just not aware of what you need to change. But pray that God reveals it to you. Now, once he reveals it to you, then we need to work on changing it. You know, you don't change. How do you change something? How do you change any habit? If I wanted to quit smoking, I don't smoke. If I wanted to quit smoking, how would I go about changing that? Wouldn't buy any cigarettes. That's a good thing. Maybe I'd throw away my lighters. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't hang out with people who smoke. Because, you know, when you try to quit smoking, and people who smoke, and they go to smoke, and you go, and they go. Right? You people who smoke, you know that. That's true. You try to quit. So have a plan. Maybe you should, if there's something in your life that shouldn't be there, maybe you should hang out with it. If gossiping's a problem, maybe you shouldn't hang out with people who gossip. Just saying. Or maybe when somebody starts gossiping, maybe you say, you know, let's talk about somebody else. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something positive. Why we always got to bring somebody down? I don't care what she's wearing. I don't care if those shoes match. You know? That's those small potatoes. Let's talk about Jesus. How do you think that'll turn out? What? You're ruining a good story, you know. But we have to make a plan, right? We need to change. So you need to make changes in your lifestyle. You know. If you're holding up resentment, maybe you need to talk with somebody. Maybe you need to pray about it a lot. And ask God, how do I let this go? Maybe you need to go talk to somebody about it. Maybe you need to talk to the person that you resent. You know. Maybe you just need to come to terms with it. There's a lot of different ways. But I can tell you this, is that, and it's different for everybody. Everybody's got their own set of stuff. Everybody's got their own baggage they're carrying around. You know, some of you got stuff that fits in the overhead compartment. Some of you are going to be paying a lot of fees at the check-in counter because you got lots of heavy luggage. But we all got baggage, right? So how do we take it? Hey, look at it, approach it like you would any habit, outward habit. Excuse me. You have to make changes. If you want to lose weight, then you eat less and maybe you exercise, right? If you wanted to change something on the inside, then you make a change to that lifestyle. Identify where it is that you need to make those changes. Yeah, I just don't need to hang out with those people. Or maybe I need new friends. Maybe you do. Maybe I need to be in church every Sunday. Great idea. Phenomenal. Put that on everyone's list. Anyway, but what I'm saying is you need to approach it in that manner. You need to create holy habits to replace old habits. You need to create habits that are pleasing to God. And then follow through. How many days does it take to form a habit?
No one.
Nobody's read that book. 21. 21 days doing it every day creates a habit. You know what would be a good habit to have? Prayer would be a great habit to have. To pray every day. Right? Talk to God every day. That's a great habit. If you came to church 21 Sundays, that's a good part of the year. That'd be a good habit to have. But prayer, church attendance, identifying what you have, create holy habits to replace old habits. That's how you make change. And change is what we're called to do. God wants us to fly. But we can't if we're stuck being a caterpillar. I've never seen a caterpillar fly. Have you? But He wants more for you. He has more waiting for you. You say, well, I'm too old to change. You're never too old to change. I don't buy that for a minute. You don't know how much longer you have on this earth. It could be 2 seconds or 200 years. You don't know. You don't. So you make the most out of every minute. Plan for a non-future. In other words, one that has no end. Because when you leave here, you'll just be going somewhere else. But be ready for that transformation. God has something wonderful planned for you. I'm here to tell you. But you've got to learn to change. You got to change the little things. You have to allow yourself. You have to hold still and let God chisel away at those little things that are keeping you from Him, so that you can enjoy what He has for you. Does that make sense? That's what we're calling it. You know, I told you earlier that about going through that whole training process, running every day. I mean, it was unbelievable the amount of stuff we did. I look back and I laugh that my body would even take that type of stuff. But to try out for basketball, and we had no idea why we did it. We just did it because we were told, you want to play basketball, you do this. But the coaches knew. Because the coaches knew that their game plan was whoever made that team was going to be able to press the other team from start to finish, which is going to take a lot of energy. And to be fresh, to be able to shoot a basketball. Keith, let me give you some basketball education. It's my expertise. If you're wondering why a guy, you're turning on the game and you're wondering why a guy's missing a shot and it's hitting the front of the rim, front of the rim, front of the rim, and he's missing, he's tired. He can't jump. That's it. I can't shoot anymore because I can't jump. But that's what it is. It's in your legs. Shooting is in your legs. Your legs have to be fresh. And at the end of the game, you want fresh legs. And if you're going to press people, and you're going to be pressing people as running after them, you're getting it. I mean, all out, getting it, the whole game. And if you're going to be fresh, then you have to be in what? Good shape. And he was making sure that we were all in good shape, no matter who he picked. It didn't matter if your basketball skills were secondary. He wanted those people to be able to run. And run we could. Right? We didn't know, but the coach knew. We don't know what God's got planned for us, but He's definitely got a plan. And your faith needs to be in that. And know that God's got a plan. And what changes do I need to make so I can fly? That should be your question as you pray each week. What do I got to do to be able to fly? Like a butterfly. Not sting like a bee. Float like a butterfly. All right? Have you heard enough? I got another 20 pages. I think I've said enough.
Did you make the team?
I did not. The first year, to be honest with you, the first year I tried out, I went through all that. Not only that, you had to get your hair cut a certain length. In the 70s, that was not cool. And my dad took it to an even more extreme than what the coaches were expecting. And I was the last man cut that first year. And actually, I was told that I couldn't dribble with my right hand, and I would probably never play for them. I started the next year, thank you. Anyway, I don't like to be told I can't do things. But that's a different story, a different sermon. But sometimes you give it everything you got, and it doesn't turn out like you want it to, but it may be a better version.